A very long time, some of you for not such a long time, but you all care very much about the community. I'm here because I also care about the community. I've worked on a number of civic and community projects in the 14 years I've been back in Muncie. And I'm very enthusiastic about that we don't get through this without each other. And this community needs us. And we need our community. So I think that's why all of us are here. And I'd like to turn it over to George.
Thanks, Jenny. Good afternoon, and I too want to express my pleasure of having the opportunity to work with all of you to do something that obviously we all have a passion for. We're very grateful for the fact that you all have accepted our invitation to be a part of it. Hopefully will be a very, very productive and successful process. In general, what we want to do is the visioning process is going to be strategic. We've been involved just a month or so it's coming down quickly, and I have a lot to learn myself. So I'm sure that along the way we're not going to do everything to make everybody happy or do things perfectly. So we accept that, and we invite you to share your thoughts and suggestions with us or with other consulting groups that are here to help make this process go. I thought about, somebody might ask, why would a librarian in a physician do this? And, I think Jenny's already given you good reasons, but I wanted to share with you a thought that sort of fits this, made by George Burns. And I think most of you are old enough to remember him when he said that too bad that all the people who know how to run the country are busy driving taxi cabs and cutting hair. So I mean no disrespect to people that do that, because in fact I know less about anything than probably many of you have to contribute. So that's why you've been asked, and you're probably going to be thinking about people who could also be here. One other thought, Milton Berle, I thought he was kind of corny most of the time, but basically he said, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. So I think we're also in the process of doing that. Last Saturday I had the pleasure and privilege of attending the Governor's Arts Awards, and I don't know if very many of you had that opportunity, but it was outstanding. You know, the building was full, it was a sellout, and the enthusiasm and the pride that we could have in Muncie was, to me, kind of overwhelming. It said a lot about us that I felt like everybody else in Muncie should have been there to hear what went on. And then this afternoon we had a tour about some things, seeing what's going on downtown. The Patterson building is very impressive, and the donation of the Fisher building to the School of IT Tech is just bodes well for being a stimulus to help us get the things done that we need to get done. And then my last comment has to do with a nice tribute that Micah Maxwell paid to Lynette Freeman in this morning's paper. It's very touching. If you haven't had a chance to read it, I suggest that you do. I think it's appropriate because, as all of you know, and we're probably going to hear in different places, Muncie's tried to plan before, but we haven't necessarily got done what some people thought we should get done. And that's something we want to avoid in our own process. So what Micah said about Lynette and paying her tribute was that we need to finish strong. You know, we need to do our job, do our planning, and then have some program of implementation so that something happens as a result of all the input that we get from all of you. The difference is in our success is not by chance, but choice. We are what we choose, I think. So I just happy to be here. I've always been a supporter of Muncie and the hospital, and all the things that I can do as a physician, and so I share that with you, and I'm sure you share it with us, that we want to get the job done. I think at that point, do I turn it back to you?
Well, I think we're going to turn this over now to Mayor McShirley. She's going to tell us how we got to this point. We exit stage left.
Well, first of all, I would like to tell you how absolutely delighted I am to tell you that we came up with a list of 38 people that we thought who really were concerned about the community. And only 3 of the 38 people had so many commitments that they could not commit to this project. And I can't tell you how surprised the people from ACP have been over this. And we actually planned on a steering committee of about 24 to 30 people. So you can see that we had a response that was just overwhelming to us. And so I'm delighted as mayor to be able to say that as we start this process, that we have so many people who are actively concerned about the community, they were willing to step up and commit time to this, to what we're doing. One of the things I was supposed to answer was why an action plan? When I came in as mayor, it became very clear that there was a vision in 2011. There had been previous ones prior to that. Ball State University has a vision plan. Lots of different organizations in this community have a plan for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. The city of Muncie didn't have one. I mean, nobody handed me a book and said, here's our plan. How are you going to go about implementing this plan? And as I sat back and started to reflect on it, and as I learned more on the job last year, realized that we really were holding ourselves back. Because as we tried to make plans, as different organizations tried to make plans, and as foundations and as the city tried to decide where it was going to spend its limited resources, we had no direction. I mean, it was just kind of whatever might rise to the top is maybe the best way to put it as far as needs go, and there was no long-term planning in place. We have had different processes going on. I mean, there are shelves of plans, there are charrettes that have been done, there have been different segments of our community that have had attention, but either because of lack of how we're going to implement it, lack of funding, lack of direction, nothing has really ever come to fruition. Larry Riley has done a great job of pointing these things out to us in the paper, that we have great ideas, but we really don't have a follow-through. It ultimately ends up hurting us. It hurts us in the community development area with our federal funds that we receive. It hurts us in our transportation plans. And it hurts us from our federal funding that we might have the potential to receive because we can't say how it fits into our comprehensive plan. I heard that multiple times last year. Mayor, how does that fit into your comprehensive plan? And then I'd have to come back and say, well, we don't really have one, but we're going to get one. And it took a while to find the funding. And ultimately, through Connie Gregory, who's our community development director, and conversations with her, said, is there a way that we can set aside some administrative funds to help fund a comprehensive plan for the city? That's how I was referring to it at the time. She committed to doing that, but it's a year-long process. And then I also spoke to our controller and said, can we set aside some edit funds to manage this comprehensive plan? My intentions were then, once we had the commitment from Connie and then the commitment from the controller, was to go to one of the foundations or to a couple of the foundations and say, we have committed these funds from the government side. Would you as a foundation match our funding or help provide funding towards this, this process we need to go through? Well, the stars were shining on Muncie one day, and I had a meeting with Gail Chesterfield and with Allison Bell, and they were coming to us to ask us to help them fund something similar for Ivy Tech because they had received funding from the foundation. And so the three of us high-fived each other in my office and said, this is just perfect because it's a perfect match. Ivy Tech had needs that they needed answers to try to meet those needs. Community development needed to have a comprehensive plan so that they could then, when we go after funding through the federal government, can say this is how we plan on spending these monies and this is what our community wants to do. And then I look at it from an economic development perspective and a redevelopment perspective. And what do we want Muncie to look like? And we all have ideas, and through this process, we're not going to make everyone happy. We recognize that. But I would encourage everyone to look at the community 20 years from now. In 20 years from now, what do we really want to see Muncie looking like? And there's gonna be a process we're gonna have to go through to get there.